owned this company for, gosh, 43 years, and then the last year or so, we've kind of handed it over to Scott and Danny and Jeff. And I pursued a kind of a different line, and basically what I've been doing is I'm dealing with a product called Microglass and Set and Cure, which is a additive to plaster and a spray-on that actually converts pool finishes into almost like a ceramic-type cement. And basically, water chemistry can't break it down, so you're going to double or triple the life expectancy of pool finishes now. So what I'm doing and what we found out, what I found out over the years is, well, first off, when you put Microglass on a pool, you actually spray it on an existing pool. And so there's a lot of business models for the serviceman to pick up. You can actually go on existing pools and put this on, but what you first have to do is you have to acid wash them and get all the minerals and stains off. And what we found out as we're going across the United States teaching everybody how to put this on, nobody's acid washing very well. There's terrible practices that's destroying pool finishes. And even when you, like us as a plaster company, when we come in on a brand new pebble or quartz finish, and we come in and we acid wash to get off, we weren't even doing it very well. And I'm going to go over how to do that. So part of the whole Microglass thing is how to acid wash a pool. Now, how many guys here have acid washed before? Just so I can see. Most of you, okay. How many here are afraid to acid wash? Yeah, okay. I'm going to try to take the boogeyman out of that and show you how to do this. And actually, if this is something you like, spray Microglass on. You charge customers $2, $3, $4 grand for this. You can make a lot of money very quickly. And so I want to share with you some of the stuff we've learned through the process. But to understand this, we got to go through some of these things, and you got to understand what you're acid washing and why. What type of surface am I acid washing? What's the surface ability to withstand acid? How to acid wash a pool, the importance of neutralizing the acid, the most important thing, sodium bicarbonate. How to neutralize after acid wash, before and afters, and then what Microglass does and all that. But really, the whole acid wash thing is something that I think our industry has not done a very good job with over the last 20, 30, 40 years. I know the National Plasters Council certainly hasn't done a good job of teaching plasters how to acid wash a pool after it's been pebbled. And I know IPSA hasn't really done it, or UPA or anybody else. Nobody's really taken that on. And so I think we've done a good job at Microglass on how to do this. So, first we have to understand what you're acid washing. Well, you're acid washing a pool finish mix that's basically mixed up in a mixer, it's sprayed on, and then it's troweled out, and you guys all taking care of these finishes. Now, how many guys, you guys all service guys, mostly, for the most part in here?
Yes, sir.
Any plasters? Any builders? Okay, a couple builders, all right. So basically that goes on, and then you fill it with water, or basically acid wash if it's a pebble finish. Fill it with water, and then service it, okay? And we're going to come in after a period of time and acid wash these again once it gets scale, mineral buildup, or whatever. Or eventually, if you want to put a Microglass product on, we're going to talk about that. So first off, let's figure out what exactly it is that we're acid washing. So here, what I do is I've got I'm doing a little talk about marble and quartz. Marble and quartz are two aggregates that go into pool finishes, either a pebble or quartz or a plaster. And this is something that we have for our sales team to show customers of why you want to upgrade from a marble to a quartz finish. So right here what I have is a beaker of quartz and a beaker of marble, and I have some acid on the side. It's diluted acid. I think it's maybe 5 to 1. And this is white quartz, of course, and here's what I do. So now I get this diluted acid. It's just pool water with a little bit of muriatic acid in it. And the suspense is killing me. Here we go. And I pour it in on the marble. I got a beaker of it here too. I'll do it right in front of you. so you can see. Already have it done. Same one. Jeff, I got this out of your office. But for this is what happens when you have 5-to-1 acid hits a plaster job, already plaster job, instantly dissolves the marble aggregate. Do you guys know that? That's what it does. That's how soluble this is. That's quartz. Now they're going to go, I think, the same. You can go 100% acid on quartz, and you get zero reaction. Okay? So, know what you're acid washing. When you come into acid wash a pool, what's that aggregate? If it's plaster marble, it'll dissolve at 5-to-1 acid solution. So not only are you going to eat the cement up, you'll eat the aggregate too. Question?
Oh, and how do I know that looking at it?
How do you know that looking at it? Well, whether it's white quartz or white plaster, it's hard to tell.
Okay.
It's hard to tell, but you can usually look at it really close and see if it's marble aggregate. If you know what you're looking at, like, you know, I do, but
right.
Yeah, so it'd be hard to tell.
Is that been common, like, in the last so many years? Because I wasn't marble.
Well, marble was all they did for the first, you know, 30 years of pool plastering, and then they started doing quartz and pebble finishes.
Gotcha.
So now what we're going to talk about is the cement. We know what the aggregate's made out of. Now the cement, in my background, I've really studied and done a lot of research. Matter of fact, I headed up the research for the National Plasters Council, and I actually was fortunate enough to give the head of the Cal Poly San Luis Obispo National Pool Industry Research Center, where I chaired their advisory board of material engineering for about 11 years. So I learned a lot about cement, which if you're a pool plaster, you better know what your cement is. Cement, Portland cement, you've got it stacked all over here, is basically it's a white cement. When you mix water with it, it changes. It's all calcium products. Calcium aluminate, dicalcium aluminate, dicalcium aluminate sulfate, all kinds of stuff, and calcium hydroxide. Well, calcium hydroxide is 25% of the cement paste that holds the aggregate together in every pool finish you can imagine. That's basically the DNA of cement. Calcium hydroxide is very porous. This right here is calcium hydroxide. The stuff around it is the other cement product called calcium silicate hydrate. Okay, so around a sand aggregate, this is a sand aggregate, you got this white stuff is calcium hydroxide. It's the hardest part of the pool of the cement is the calcium silicate. It's non-soluble. The absolute hardness in the Mohs hardness scale is about a 70 to 75. That's the good stuff. The soft stuff is called calcium hydroxide, extremely soluble. It's about a 3 on the absolute hardness scale. That marble that we just dissolved is about a 3 on the hardness scale. So not only you got soft marble, but 25% of your cement makeup is soluble too. Can't get away from it. I don't care what kind of pebble you have or kind of aggregate, 25% is soft. Let me go back here. Now, around each aggregate particle, and I don't care if it's marble, quartz, pebble, it doesn't matter. Where the cement touches the aggregate, or a tile line, or a plastic fitting, or anything like that, that's called an ITZ, interfacial transition zone. That's where cement comes up to anything. Where that comes up to, that particle, that's where calcium hydroxide forms. Now think about it for a minute here. Think of all the pools you service, the plaster jobs. It starts that little spot etching, starts around a grain of sand. If water wants calcium to buffer a low alkalinity, it dissolves the most soluble calcium it can find around the sand grain. So think about that. We're going to come back and show you some pictures of what that looks like. Here's the hardness level. This is what's called the Mohs hardness level. This measures the hardness of minerals The calcium hydroxide is a 3. Calcium sulfate is really what it is. Calcite. Also, the marble is the same place. The calcium silicate hydrate is way down here, like, almost like silica sand. Inert, basically chemically inert. So that's what you're acid washing, these products. Okay, now, I'll jump ahead. You guys all got this brochure on this microglass. These are before and after pictures of pools that we've acid washed and how we cleaned up and put them on. When you put microglass on a plaster job, any kind of pool finish, it converts the calcium hydroxide from a 3 to a 75. So it basically makes your pool finish chemically inert, where acid can't break it down. If acid can't break your pool finish down, how long will it last? I'm going to talk like an attorney. It greatly extends the life expectancy of the pool. Right? I'm not going to say forever, but it can't break it down now. What's that do for our industry? Everything.
Puts you out of business.
Well, we're kind of fat, dumb, and happy here. You know, we've got a lot going on. But by the time everything gets done, if it ever does, basically pools are going to go a lot longer. Easier to service. When you do a startup, if you do this on brand new, we actually have a mix-in product. When you fill a pool up, we're going to get to that, the water can't pull plaster dust out, it can't dissolve it. Basically, you do a 50-meter Olympic pool, and there's almost no plaster dust. What's that do to your startup? Changes everything. Okay, we're going to go into best practices acid wash. That's kind of the thing, and this is a huge moneymaker. If you guys pay attention to what I'm telling you here, all the pools that are out there right now, I mean, there's only so many pools that are built or replastered a year. But think of all the existing pools out there, commercial, residential. If you tell your homeowner, you know, you need to clean your pool, get the scale off, descale your tile, and we can put this product on. Instead of having to replaster in 10 years, we can get you another 20 or 30. Think about commercial pools. Downtime, all that. Instead of being replastered every 10, 15 years, what if you get 30 or 40? And you could do that. But you got to know how to acid wash to get the stains off without ruining it. Okay, that's the boogeyman, right? So here's what we do. We have this system of acid washing that's completely different from probably anything you've done. And we do. Home Depot trash can. Let's see here.
Does it have to be a Home Depot?
Has to be a Home Depot trash can. Yeah. Who asked that? That is a brilliant question. Yeah, brilliant question. I got to see how I get this. James here? There we go. All right, so what's going on is you've got a small, cheap, submergible pump attached to a hose. You put it inside this trash can, and it's got this wand. It's on the pump, and we fill this with acid and water, maybe 2 or 3 gallons of acid and the rest water. Very diluted. You used to guys see them go right out of the bottle or a watering can. Okay? Don't do that anymore, and I'm going to show you why. Oops. Okay, so these guys are going over and over this wand. It's a spray wand. It's got a valve on it. You can shut it off. It's diluted acid. It's still reacting. Guy with a broom. And what we do is also, before, this is an existing pool where we're cleaning it up, and we'll come in ahead of time and put in some of this stain and scale control several days ahead of time to loosen all the scale and stains up. Works really, 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 really good. You don't have to use as much acid. It's softened it up. Comes off a lot easier. This is key. Key, you put this in. Then when your acid water, what we do is we put, and you can use different products. We like the Biodex Plaster Bright and White. This actually takes the fumes away, sticks to the side. You guys are nodding your head, you know this is really good stuff, right? And then also, there's another great product. It's stain off, which really helps melt the metals off quicker. So the more of these products you use, the less damage you're going to do to your pool finish. All right? So we're going around doing
So
this.
what would your typical, would you put one bottle of each in your container there?
How much do I use? Darren, what are we doing on this? Are we doing about about a quarter bottle of the Bright and White?
Quarter bottle of Bright and White, yeah.
Yeah, a quarter bottle of Bright and White.
And the scale, or the stain?
Stain, probably half a bottle of that,
We're
right?
using one bottle for a 33-gallon trash can.
Yeah, I use a little less,
So
but yeah,
a
about
quarter
that.
in one.
And so one of these trash cans can do 120 perimeter pool, typically, unless you have some pretty gnarly stains on there. But it just goes around and around and around and around until your stains are off. Now, if you got some really stubborn stains, rather than keep doing it with acid, we got a polisher, and we come in with polishers, they're electric polishers, but has water coming out on there, and they're water driven, and we'll polish the stains off. So you don't have to keep using acid. And then if you roughen up your pool, we just polish the whole pool for them fairly quickly. We also have a big weed eater that we have them on to do floors and walls. So it's very quick. So that's your overhead. You can we charge quite a bit to polish a pool. You can actually slick out a marble plaster job and make it smoother than when we plastered it.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's super smooth. The quartzes are harder because the quartz aggregate's so hard, but you can still make them really smooth. And on commercial floors and all that, it's wonderful. So anyways, that's what we do. That's your overhead. A barrel, small pump, hose, a wand, and just the products you're going to use. And then if you want to polish, you can get polishers that are made to have water through them. That's your overhead. Okay? I really don't want to talk prices too much, but on an average, say, a pool like this, pool and spa combo, just to come in and do a pre-treat, acid wash, where we neutralize it, a polish, light polish, it might be $4,000, maybe $1,000 invested time, 2 guys 1 day, $3,000 profit. I can live with that. I don't make that much on a plaster job. You go to the commercial level, and you go to your HOA, and you say, hey, this job was done 3 years ago, you got another 12, 13 years. If I acid wash and do this now, you might get 20 or 30. And you might be charging 6, 7, 8, 10 grand, depending on the size of the pool. So it just kind of goes that way. And you can just put more people in the pool and try to get it done in 1 day. Always try to get things done in a day if you can. So anyways, the ability and the market model for this to go out and really make some serious dough is huge. It's untapped. And people across the United States are starting to jump on this like crazy. This product's well known throughout the United States now, and people are making complete business models out of this. So think about municipal pools, high schools, parks and rec pools. The downtime on those, if they could do this and you get into bed with some of those guys, you can really do well. So let's see here. That's the trash can method. Dilute muriatic acid, add soap, Biodex, apply the sump pump, use less acid. We probably use half the acid this way compared to normal acid washing. If you're a big company, like a plaster company, and you're doing this in all your pebble jobs, like Jay and Cal Plastering in Phoenix, he runs 12 pebble crews, they'll save him $200,000, $250,000 a year just in acid. So this works not just on old pools, but also on new installations. Okay, when you do it this way too, by the way, this creates such a consistent wash. You have the same amount of acid going everything, not 50%, 25% and all that. You don't have too much overlap, but it creates such a nice uniformity of cleaning, and it's very quick with the wand. Okay, you can shut it off. You have a guy controlling the water, washing the acid down so it doesn't rut out the sides and eat up too much floor. Much, much controllable and very quickly. Here's the big thing that I've seen that has done more damage to the industry now over the years by not doing this right is bicarb rinse when we're done. Most people don't bicarb, or they don't use any kind of neutralization. And if they do, they don't do it very well. Why do you need to bicarb or neutralize? Well, when you put acid on a cement surface, the cement looks, if you look really close, like the picture you saw earlier, looks like a sponge. It's got all these micro grooves, micro cavities. The acid ion, the muriatic ion, gets in there. When you rinse it off the surface, that acid ion's still inside the cement microstructure. And it keeps active for weeks, if not months, inside, because it's not, hasn't been neutralized. It doesn't do anything good. All it's doing is hitting that soluble calcium hydroxide on new installations, like a new pebble job or quartz job. I mean, it might look good day one, but 2 or 3 months from now, you start to get some weird blotchiness. The pigment's out. It's actually pulling calcium hydroxide with pigment. And then the plaster blames the startup guy or the service guy, and the finger pointing starts. Who knows what happened? I think a lot of it's done because we didn't neutralize it. Sometimes it is a bad startup, but how do you know? Okay, so here's one way I've seen people do. We bicarb it. So what they do, they threw a bunch of bicarb in the acid water, and they started using that to neutralize the pool. Well, now think about it. This acid water had bicarb. That bicarb and that acid, it's no good anymore. Whatever bicarb is in there, the acid ate up. But he's going around, he's using blue water from the acid wash, eating the cream up to neutralize his pool. There's no neutralizing happening anywhere. But this is how guys do it. Oh, we neutralize it. Nothing's getting neutralized. Whatever bicarb was in there, the acid already took the effect of the bicarb out. Even if this was clean water and bicarb down there, that reused bicarb is probably ineffective anyway. So once it recirculates, by the time it gets to the other half of the pool, it's not neutralized. Okay, so why is it blotchy in your pool months later or whenever? Well, it's because a lot of it wasn't neutralized and it's still reacting. Here's how we do it. We use the same Home Depot trash can, and we fill it full of sodium bicarbonate. Maybe I'd say for this trash can full, I'd use maybe, 10, 15 pounds of bicarb. Dissolve it, put that pump in, and of course this will neutralize all the acid in the system. And we do the same thing, and we just simply dilute it, and then we just go around and we spray it 2 or 3 times over and over again. You can brush it with a broom if you want. Sodium bicarbonate actually gets down into the microstructure, and and it will neutralize that acid.
It does a better job than soda ash?
Much better than soda ash. Soda ash actually has a higher pH, but it can't penetrate. The molecular size of it can't get in as easy. If you feel, a plaster job, say there's a sunny wall and it's hot and you acid washed it and then neutralize it, if you put soda ash on there, it still feels kind of warm. If you use sodium bicarbonate, it feels cool. It actually cools it off, has a chemical reaction. But much better. It gets in deeper, penetrates better, and it neutralizes, I think, much better than baking soda. Or soda ash, I'm sorry.
Why do you say don't forget about return lines?
Oh, because you get acid back up in return lines when you acid wash, and so what we do is we stick that wand in there and just make sure all the acid in the pipe is all neutralized, lights, everything. Because if it dribbles back out after you leave, you have a problem, right? So we just flush everything out. So, concentrate sodium bicarbonate solution, it's neutralized. Now we have the same sodium bicarbonate in here, so when we're spraying it on, it's full strength around the whole pool, so everything gets neutralized properly. This is what hasn't been done in our industry since acid washing has started. Hasn't been. I mean, everywhere around the United States I've gone and talked to, most people don't do it. Plasters especially. And then service guys too. A lot of guys say, yeah, we'll put a little bit in, but how do they do it right? Most people don't. I'd say 95% don't. I raised my hand. We did it for years,
And
so.
it dissolves in the water easily?
Yeah, it depends how much you put in. The water can only saturates so much. But yeah, you can keep mixing it until it gets there.
And then you pump it out.
And you just pump it out to the sewer. Yeah,
Thank you.
it just makes everything. We'll even put some down in the acid water that's coming in as we're pumping it a lot of times. So that's neutralization best practices. So this guy, he said, oh yeah, we neutralized, we had this. Yeah, but he thought, you know, God bless him, he thought he was doing it, but A for effort. Okay, so that's how we do the acid wash. Anybody have any questions on that? That was kind of, it's really that simple. It's not a college course. It's just paying attention. Don't pour straight acid. Don't even do it out of a watering can. If you could do it this way, it's much, much, much better. So this is getting, the reason we learned to do this so well is because as we're putting microglass on people's pools across the United States, microglass, it's a liquid. It just gets sprayed on, as you'll see. If it comes in contact with muriatic acid ion, as soon as it hits it, it turns white at the surface like a glazed donut. Microglass has to be able to penetrate. And so when we were putting it on jobs that were acid wash, it was turning white on half the pool or parts of the pool. We just realized they didn't neutralize it. So we had to really get good at teaching that. So when we go out and teach people how to do microglass, 90% of our effort is acid washing best practices. It really is. So yeah, question.
For putting the microglass on the coping, you have to neutralize the coping as well?
Anything that's got acid in it has to be neutralized. If anything made out of cement, Portland cement can have microglass put on it. But I'll go over that in a second. That's a good question. But if you did put acid on it, you have to neutralize it. If you don't put our product on. So, now, the picture handout I got you, it's got quite a few before and afters. The bottom one here is a commercial pool. It looks blue and black. And then afterwards, what a good job we did on that. That was about a 2-year-old pool. You know what his heater looked like. Right? He didn't have much of a heater left after that. All that blue you see pretty much came from his heater. But you were able to take just about any pool, and we have taken a couple pools that seriously probably should have been replastered. 25-year-old fried quartz job, made it look good and polished through and saved it. Now, can we do all of them? No, but we're surprised how many pools you can resurrect. Into the microglass. So basically, this is what microglass looks like going on. It is a clear liquid. Here is one of the sprayers we have. Get it on Amazon. This actually drops into the 5-gallon bucket, and it's just like a little orchid sprayer. It's actually buzzing. You can spray it with this or something like that. Again, the overhead's next to nothing. And we typically, job was just pebbled, acid wash, neutralized. You have to put it on a dry surface, whether it's a 20-year-old job, a 5-year-old job, a 1-year-old plaster job, or a brand new install. It has to be dry when you put it on. Now this guy's got this roller, and the reason we use that roller is just you don't want any puddles or streaks. This is not, microglass is not a sealer or a coating. If you tell a customer that, you misrepresented it. It's a penetrating hardener. It goes into cement and it converts all that soluble calcium hydroxide into a silicate. Now this is a 1-million-gallon dolphin pond in Destin, Florida we did. And this was saltwater, pure saltwater environment. This is a PebbleTech product I put on, and we did that. And it also will almost completely eliminate any craze cracking, check cracking, and if you have craze cracking in an existing job, it'll probably cover them up and hide them. So that's what it looks like going on. And this is how it penetrates. It just goes down into the microstructure, and it starts converting all the calcium hydroxide into a glass-like product. All that soluble 3 on the hardness scale is now a 75, hence the name micro glass. Okay? Now your cement's glass. What's that mean in the pool industry?
It's nothing gonna eat it.
Nothing can penetrate. I'm not going to say that out loud. Because you say that out loud, you got to take the responsibility. But we have waterproofing stuff. We'll show you. There's a product you can actually put in the plaster called Set and Cure that acts the same as spray on microglass. And you can put microglass on top of it if you want, but basically for the plaster applicator, you don't have to have a crew come back and spray it on. And it has a ton more for builders. The builders are driving this across the United States faster than anything because it basically eliminates just about all your call backs. Startups one day, everything changes. Matter of fact, it's pigment distribution's better, troweling better, exposure's better, everything's better. It's like, sounds like snake oil. So, research discovery. To circle back around, as a plasterer, a builder, a service guy, we got to know what our products are made out of. We need to know the strengths and weaknesses. Okay? Again, this soluble calcium hydroxide has been the enemy of us forever. That's the stuff that leaches out, plaster dust, when pools start to spall, that thin flaky stuff, spot etching, calcium nodules. That's all this stuff dissolving for whatever reason. A low alkalinity, negative on the saturation index long term, not a proper acid wash. We're all responsible. Okay, I'm not going to finger it, but we all have a part of this. The zone, the interfacial is where the cement meets sand and rock. ITZs are the weakest region of all of our pool finishes. And we just never knew how to take care of that. We did a bunch of pools at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I actually built and designed 12 pools. We did about 11 years of research. And we realized that unless you can take care of this calcium hydroxide, you can do the best application with the best materials, the best startup, the best fill water, and the best long-term care. It's almost impossible to get all that perfect. We even found out at the facility that the test kits are off like crazy. We did an exhaustive test on test kits and found out accuracy and precision were all over the place. So even if your test kits aren't giving you exact on, how you expect your water chemistry to be good. Now here's this is what's a little test. This is a PebbleTech sample. It's a midnight blue, the nightmare color. This is untreated. This is treated with microglass. And you can see, I don't know if you can see back there, the water's turning blue. As it's sucking the calcium hydroxide, it's pulling the pigment molecule with it. On the right side, no pigment was pulled out, no calcium was dissolved. So, one of the problems with the water dissolving, pulling calcium out, it pulls the pigment molecule, and you've got color discoloration, especially in smooth trowel plaster jobs. That's why they went to pebbles. You can never get a plaster job to look good very long, because you lose color, it's blotchy, it's streaky, it's all that. Very, very, very reactive, okay? So, what the Set and Cure does especially, it actually separates the pigment molecules and the cement molecules. This is a physics term called the van der Waals effects, where it actually separates it and it gets complete hydration around the particles, and it converts the calcium hydroxide into a silicate, locking the pigment molecule in so it can't be dissolved out. Did you follow me? All right. But that's what you just saw in that picture. So it basically locks it in. So we can do smooth trowel plaster jobs.
Quick question on that last slide. That last slide, the one on the right, what is that?
This?
Yeah, no, the sample in the bottom left. Yeah,
Oh, right here?
Yeah, on the right side. I've never seen. Yeah, that.
Oh, that's just the watercolor.
Oh,
That's the
with it,
PebbleTech
sorry.
watercolor.
Sorry, okay, I didn't. Neat. Okay.
That's just watercolor. Okay, now here's a commercial job. Probably wanted to replaster it. We said, let's give it a shot. So we did our best practices acid washing and microglassed it. And it looks as good or better than new. And we're doing these all over the place. More and more. There's a waiter. And if you do it right, and now it's non-soluble. What is a 5-10-year-old waiter, and you got them another 10 years. At a quarter of the price of a replaster in one day. No downtime. Very little downtime, right? Okay, here's a job. This is an interesting job. This is about a couple-week-old quartzscapes from NPT. And I got a call out here. It was one of my competitors. Alan, what do I do? Is actually sold through a pool supply store, subcontracted to this guy. The homeowner was an engineer. It took 5 days to fill the pool, and it had craze cracks all over. You see them? Everybody see those in the back?
Yeah.
Whole pool and spa, and it had a white hazing over it.
Did you say it was new?
It was a replaster.
Like, so this is brand new?
Yeah, it's 2
Brand
weeks
new
old.
replaster.
Okay, so the finger pointing. Plaster blamed the material. The pool supply blamed the plaster. Somebody was blaming it took too long to fill. It was just all over the place. I looked at it because the craze cracking, right? Craze cracking is all filled with calcium hydroxide, ITZ, where it comes together, all filled with calcium hydroxide, and it's kind of white. Looked terrible. Well, normally when that happens, you're married to it. That's done, right? So they're trying to have me tell them whose fault it was so you could get somebody to fix it. I go, well, taking 5 days to fill didn't help. And almost every single pool finish on the market, I don't care if it's pebble, plaster, quartz, is going to have shrink cracks. It's just whether you see them or not, or how big they are, right? The longer it takes to fill, the bigger they get. And they will fill with calcium hydroxide, which is very soluble. So maybe on a white plaster job you don't see them, but as soon as it starts to etch and wants calcium, they start to highlight over a year or 2 or 3 years later, and you see them. Maybe even turn blue, because they're so soft it absorbs the copper first. Well, I looked at this pool and I go, well, I think I know whose fault it is, but I think you can fix it. You go, what? I go, yeah, let me do this. Let me drain the spa. I'll do a light acid wash, neutralize, and spray microglass on there. This step here looked worse than that beforehand. Microglass filled the craze crack. It's clear, like glass. It reflected off each other. You can't see anything. The guy owes me a steak dinner. I saved him a $20,000 redo, right? Do the whole pool that way. If you put it on right when it's done, if you had set and cure, it would act the same as microglass. You would have gotten very little, if any, check crack. It acts as a curing agent. Let me just jump and talk about that really quick. You guys have all heard the word hydration
Yeah.
That's what you're doing right now.
and curing. Hydrated. So,
And curing.
good. I like that. There's a difference between hydration and curing. People use the terms, I don't think everybody quite understands it. Like pH, what does pH mean? Potential of hydrogen, everything has a meaning. Hydration is when you mix cement, dry cement, water together, it starts to hydrate. That's the chemical changing of all those compounds into a hard paste, okay? Hydration. So you got a chemical change from dry powder to 5 different calcium compounds. Proper hydration is important. You want those to do it properly so it's nice and strong. Curing is the environment that it's in to create proper hydration. Temperature, humidity, wind, dampness, all that stuff. Like you see if they pour a big slab of concrete, they put wet carpet over it like a thing to create dampness to maintain moisture so it doesn't leave too quickly, so that everything can hydrate and form these proper calcium compounds. So microglass and set and cure is basically a curing compound where it controls the hydration also. So you have a nice even hydration so everything works better on top of the converting to the calcium hydroxide. So what basically happened here is we helped it hydrate more uniformly, and we actually hydrated all the calcium hydroxide into a silicate and created that beautiful look. What we had to do is the acid took the haze off. You see that white haze on everything. They just never got all the plaster dust off and the hazing, and it stuck, and we cleaned it off with our best practices acid washing, and actually gave them a little bit better exposure. Also did a very light polish on that with our polisher, so it actually was pretty smooth. They were kind of blown away. You know, quartz jobs a lot of times a little bit have a little coarseness to it. So here's a plaster job done with set and cure and which is like microglass with the mix. And I actually traveled the spa myself on this one. I can still get in there and do it now and then.
Looks nice.
And it basically looked like a paint job when we were done. When's the last time you saw a colored plaster job look that uniform? Rarely. Darren's here. He did the startup on it back there, and he was part of that. Yeah, question.
So
Loud so we can hear it.
with the microglass, we could actually use blue now, right? Like, because I've been told, like, oh, stay away from blue, because after a year or two, we start getting spotting. But then now you can put the microglass.
Microglass or set and cure takes care of your pigment loss issues no matter what color you use. It's not a color issue anymore. Just the blue, you see it, I call it the nightmare color, because when it leaves, it looks bad. And there's a whole science in pigments. You have organic and inorganic pigments. If I got time, I can touch on it. But we filled this pool up, and a month or two after we're done, the service tech let the alkalinity get really high, and it scaled. This doesn't stop scaling. This stops etching and removing and pulling calcium out of the cement, but you can still scale it. The nice thing is you put acid in the pool, shut the equipment off, drop the alkalinity, it burned the scale up, and it didn't hurt the plaster because it can't dissolve it. You can acid wash these microglass and set and cure jobs without hurting them. Plus, there wasn't any plaster dust. So minimal plaster dust, uniform, vibrant color, simplified startup. You know, if you think about it, you know, I started plastering pools in '74, long time, and it was all basically white plaster. I was right when they started to do colored plaster jobs. And, you know, all of a sudden architecturally the builders wanted to do it, it looked good and all that started to go, but right away you start having the discoloration, the blotches, all that kind of stuff, and the finger pointing, who's responsible, is that just the way it is it this, is it that, and so, but more and more people wanted to do colored jobs, you couldn't run away from it, and then eventually it got so bad that they had to come up with an alternative, and in Australia, Pebble Tech, they're here, guys at Pebble Tech, and they started doing exposed aggregate pebble pools to create a dynamic colored finish without all the blotches. The rock does not blotch. The rock's been that way for 1 million years, okay? The cement around it can lose color, but the rock doesn't, and the rock carries the day on the color. So they started going that way to create these really pretty watercolors. If they would have had this product back then, we might not have ever gone to Pebble because it would have had a nice colored finish. But who knows, right? But plus, these are smooth trowels. A lot of people don't like Pebble because of the texture. I like it if it's done right. If a Pebble job's done right, it feels like a wet orange peel. Right? If it's not done, it can feel like stucco. Right? It depends on how your installer put it in. So, how am I doing on time here?
15 minutes.
Huh?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Okay, these are, I don't know, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. My son Jeff, he went there. We built these pools there, and 12 pools, 4 spas. We're actually doing evaporation studies for the state of California for the drought. And we divide these pools and spas into sections, into different material combinations, startup, different type of sanitizers to see what affects the cement differently. All right, we ran this for about 11 years. I chaired the advisory board of the university, material engineering, and I ran the research for the National Plasters Council. And as you can see, we had IPSA, UPA was there, APSP at the time. Everybody was involved in this study. And what we basically came up with is, if you can't control that calcium hydroxide, the best materials, the best pigments, the best anything doesn't matter because it'll dissolve. And then this microglass came along. The guy that invented this actually invented it for concrete repair. And they actually wanted me involved to kind of help them on the technical side. I go, boy, this would be great in pool finishes. Oh my gosh, I mean, what a great experiment. So we started doing that, and phenomenal results, better than we expected, right? I go, boy, if you could do a mix-in product, so you don't have to spray it on and everything, it makes it that much easier. Average pool's $200-300 for this product mixed in. Guys, And it replaces pozzolans and pump aids and everything else, so it's almost a push. So we got guys buying this by the truckload across the United States, big plaster companies. Once they use it and they see, the guys that are really driving are who's the builders? The builders love this, because what it does, it actually separates the pigment molecule better, and your colors come out more vibrant, less blotchy, even on pebble jobs. And they look really good, and there's startups change because it can't pull plaster dust. Rick, are you here, Rick Speck? Is he in here? No.
Outside.
Oh, that's okay, you can leave him there. We did a commercial, big commercial, about 75, no, about I think a 3,500 square foot old, big pool. And we put microglass or Century, either one in the pool, but we didn't do the waiter. Filled it with a fire hydrant. The calcium fill was 90 parts per million. Okay, you all know if you fill a brand new plaster job with 90 parts per million, that water wants calcium so bad it pulls it out and it creates a lot of plaster dust, right? Well, what we did on this pool, we put the set and cure microglass on it, filled it up, and the next day, normally your calcium wouldn't be at 90 in the pool, it would be like at 150 or 200, it pulls it out. And your pH would be all over the place. But the experiment was, is we didn't put it in the waiter. I didn't tell the customer we didn't. But we did, I confess in that one. If they have to do it over, I'll do it. But so we came back the next day. The calcium level in the pool was still at 90, just the same as the fill water. And there was no plaster dust. The waiter, the calcium hardness was about 160. So it went up 70 parts per million overnight. The plaster dust was about 1/8 of an inch thick. So it's pulling calcium out of the cement. Did it make that plaster stronger or weaker? Weaker, 100% weaker. You could probably start spalling in a few years, okay, from that. The pH, I think, was 8.8 or 7.8, 7.9. We put some acid in there, got it to 7.5. Came back the next day, it was at 7.6 on a big commercial pool. Done. Okay, if you guys do startups, you know that's everything, right? And the plaster dust was basically gone. Normally it's 7 days, every day, brush vacuum all day long. It just changed everything. So that's true with any kind of pool finish. Now some guys say they do get a little bit of plaster dust. It depends if you don't put enough product in or something, maybe you can. There's also a lot of new cements on the market, you know, the white cement and even gray cement market has done a lot of changes. They're doing a lot of limestone additives to it now because the environmental people have actually made them change the manufacturing practices. One of the most environmentally unfriendly and polluting industries is cement manufacturing. Tremendous amount of burning of clinker, creates a lot of toxic smoke, and so they want to reduce that, so they put fillers in called limestone into the cement, which makes it weaker. But it also, the type of limestone they're putting in, our product doesn't change it enough so that it doesn't have some reaction. We get a little bit of a white film off it. It's almost like a clay. That's probably more than you guys want to know, but if you do see something, it's probably because of these new cements they're using. But other than that, it really solves a lot of these issues. So I've got a little counter out here, a little booth in the corner just for this. If you guys are interested, this is a great business model for a service guy. I mean, if you're running 70, 80 pools and you do 5, 6, 10 pools a year, and you're making, you know, if you're descaling your pool, I got precision pool tile here, you know, these guys, you have them come in and do that at the same time and do this, you can be making yourself $2, $3, $4 grand per job. Now, if you go out and start chasing this, there's enough pools out there, I could legitimately see somebody doing one a day. Pickup truck, 2 guys, 1 guy's selling it and draining them and pre-treating them, and 2 guys out there. You guys do the math. Take your shoes and socks off, start counting how much money you can make. It's really that simple. Okay? It really, really is. It's just a matter of marketing, going out there and getting organized. right? So if you got a platform to do that, and if you're all service guys, you're independent pool men, you guys are taking risks every day. I don't know a bigger risk anybody takes in business than pool service guys, and this is what I mean by that. Thank you guys. You guys have basically grown our company. Our company has grown off referrals from servicemen referring their jobs to us. And I appreciate that, and that's really what made our company what it is. But I also see what you guys have charged over the years for all the responsibility you take for that pool. How often you go there, what you got to be responsible for, and all that. And there's so much risk involved for the profit you make. I really do. This new system of what you're doing here, very little risk, high profits and high overhead. So you can switch from a very, very lean, earn every penny you make, to actually make some really good money very quickly if you wanted to do it. Now, we here at Allen Smith Pools, we do this too all the time, and if you don't want to do it, refer us. Okay, but there's so many pools out there, we'll never catch up to it, ever. There's enough for everybody, and you can refer us, or do it yourself. I mean, we want everybody to be successful, right? We've got plenty of business here. You know, you can look around, we've been successful, we still are successful. And we just really want to get into this game too. And, but we also will see how you guys do it also. And once you realize how to acid wash a pool right, spray the microglass on the easiest part. It takes you maybe 45 minutes, one guy to spray 2 coats on a pool. We have a very, very interactive website at Microglass. It basically teaches everything you wanted to know. It really does. It's pretty simple. And if you've done one, you've done 100 of them. So,
sorry, repeat that. Did you say you had a class to do it?
what did you say?
Did you say you have a class to do it?
We have interactive website.
Oh, interactive website. Sorry.
It's great. It's everything. And it's in Spanish and English. Am I done? 5 minutes? Question and answer period. Yes.
I apologize if you went through this at the beginning because I worked in a little late, but can you touch on maybe quick what pools are a fit for microglass fiber package and what pool wouldn't be fit for that and what needs to be on?
That's a really, really good question. Thank you for asking that. The question was what pools are capable of getting it and what aren't. A little bit of a gray area. It's not an exact science. Really, it's going to come down to if it's serviceable, if we can wash it without, if the pool's so soft that it's been hammered so long that even our product might just, just start to dissolve and peel and flake, then obviously it needs a replastering. We have done a few of those where we've actually ground through the soft stuff, but it takes a lot of time and effort, right, Darren? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to grind through that to get to solid stuff. So if you want to put the time and effort to grind through that, you can, okay? But, and then once you put our microglass on, it'll convert the calcium hydroxide into a silicate. So you have to know what you're looking at. So as service professionals, you have a good idea of what that surface is like. If you don't, you're going to have to learn. That's your boogeyman. If it does come apart and they need to replaster anyways, you tell the customer, you give them their money back, you might be only out $500,000, the worst. But how many pools have we jeopardized because of that since we've been doing? 1 or 2?
2.
2 out of, I don't know how many pools we've done. So it's not very risky, okay? At least if you look at it that way. Same with pebble jobs. Pebble jobs, if pebbles are falling out all over the place, it's probably time. But also on a pebble job, if it's still holding together, remember the ITZ, the interfacial transition zone, that calcium hydroxide's on the back side of that pebble. That water eventually will dissolve that and pebbles will pop loose, especially if they're not embedded really well. Our product will go all the way around that and change that to a silicate and grab that particle, that aggregate, and won't let it go. It's like nuclear glue. So if you put this on when it's early, boy, those rocks ain't coming off. And you're not losing pigment around it. Sounds too good to be true almost, doesn't it? I know that's the problem.
I assume we buy the product from you, the mic.
No, Microglass you can buy through Heritage, or through PEP, Heritage, Aquabella, whatever, they're all, not SCP, they don't have that. But the other guys, they do. If you buy it in a large enough volume, we have it stocked here. We just ship it to different places. It's made in out of Pensacola, Florida, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So, but anyways, hope you learned a lot from this class. This whole acid wash thing is really the big thing on this, plus this other product. So, thank you guys for your attention. Jeff, you want to say something? Okay.
On your way out, we'll go back through the bay door. James will open it up a sec. You all have another raffle ticket for you for attending. We appreciate you supporting Alan here. Also, if you want to learn more about the process to do it yourself, Alan will be out here at a booth. If you want to call us out to look at one of your pools, we do the service to Alan Smith pools. So if you want to learn how to do it, we're good. Or if you want us to do it, whatever you prefer. So.
The next class is going to be starting at 11 a.m. We have Kevin Koska and Rick Speck are going to be speaking on science to remodel your pool. So tips, procedures, remodeling tips in regards to it. We'll see you in 15 minutes. We'll make an announcement 5 minutes before. Thank you, everyone. Hey, Robin, can you give out tickets in the back for us? Thank you so much. Make sure you give both of them.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming.
What up? How you doing, sir? Welcome to the club. That's right. How's it going? Excited? Awesome, dude. This is the place to be, man. You know? Yeah. He was he was my favorite, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
It's often on that side, so now it's like all over.
Oh, what's it called? Duh. Mine is keep it. Yeah. Instead of keeping it, I mean, you can, but it's just like.
I'll have it really fast.
I mean, I think it's the right decision. Sorry,
No, you're fine.
accepting and
I know we did chat before.
that you guys made.
Yeah, so, we have one more class. Yeah, and after he's done, hopefully.
Yeah, you are corporate now. You own corporate. You make decisions.
Yeah.
But it's just.
Yeah. Originally, we were going to have
It's going to be work anyways. My answer is definitely something that's yeah.
One day if you have training.
You own pictures of that, rank your
Standard is high, that's why.
Yeah, which PowerPoints are yours? There's two on here. CAI expansion joint? Okay.
got all of Kevin's first.
Did you have one as well, or are you just using that for his?
There's pictures after this. I don't know if you broke them up. So yeah, there's just one. Okay. So when he stops, when I get to that one, then I say, "Never going to hear stupidness."
But is it in the same PowerPoint though?
It is.
Okay. So it's This one?